Here we are heading into 2021, and I've put together a list of my favorite laptops for video editing on a myriad of price points. So we're going to start from budget and go all the way up to the high-end market, and so you can pick out the right laptop for yourself heading into 2021. I've spent the past year of 2020 reviewing tons of different laptops, and so this is my list heading into 2021 and also what to expect out of laptops as we're heading into the future. Let's get rocking! So what you can expect out of this video is going to be laptops in ascending order from cheapest to most expensive, discussion regarding the specs, so which laptops would be suitable for what type of video work, whether it be 1080p or 4K or heavy motion graphics, so on and so forth. And then make sure you stay till the end because we have some benchmark tests in the most common video editing software such as Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve, and then an in-depth discussion on the specs. So let's say I don't mention the laptop that you're interested in this video, because remember, these are my top picks. So if I don't mention it, when I discuss the specs, make sure you listen closely because that'll help you understand if the laptop that you're considering is going to be a good pick for the application that you plan on using it for. And then lastly, if you do make a purchase through the links in the description below this video, I will have all the laptops listed out that I mentioned in this video. I will get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. And that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. So I always appreciate it when you guys use those links. But let's dive right into it. And remembering that these are my top picks, and to comment below on which laptop you're considering purchasing if it's not in my lineup. First and foremost is my daily driver when I'm on the go, that is. This is the Acer Swift 3. This is a fantastic laptop if you're on a budget looking to get into 1080p video editing. It's around $650 to $700 depending on when you purchase this laptop. It comes with 8 cores and 8 threads with the Ryzen 7 4700U, and it has the integrated AMD Radeon 7 graphics. This laptop does have 8 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and a 14-inch Full HD IPS display. Now, if you want to get a little bit more multitasking performance out of this laptop, I'd recommend upgrading that 8 gigs to 16. You can interchange those. Right now, I'm pretty sure it's configured to 2 4-gig sticks, and this is actually the laptop that I have sitting right back here. So this is a laptop I use a lot on the go, and when I'm not on the go, I have a full Ryzen desktop build, and I've actually done a full video on how to build your own PC if you're interested on my channel. But anyway, the one thing I am disappointed about this laptop is the color accuracy. So the color gamut range is rather poor with 64% sRGB and 47% Adobe RGB. So if you're gonna get this computer, I'd recommend getting an external monitor to do your color grading for optimal color accuracy for your projects. Next up on the list, make it a pretty big price hike because the in between these models, I don't really think there's a lot of value personally. If I'm gonna spend, $800 on a laptop, for me personally, I know this might offend you, but I'm going to bump it up to $1,100 to $1,200 because you're going to get way more performance out of that laptop than trying to find within that $700 to $800 range. Although I do know that budgets apply, and I am happy to have you comment below. Let me know what laptop you're considering, and I would love to make a recommendation for you. If there's a laptop that would fit between these two laptops, I would recommend the Acer Nitro 5 with the Ryzen 5 4600H. That's just a quick little side note there. Let's move forward with the laptop that I have here. This is the HP Omen with the Ryzen 7 4700H. This is a 4800H, I'm sorry, the Ryzen 7 4800H. This is a great laptop. It's got 8 cores, 16 threads, fantastic for multitasking. Comes with the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Ti, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, 15.6-inch Full HD display. That comes in at a 99% sRGB and a 72% Adobe RGB. What I love about this laptop is it's a $1,200 laptop. It's color accurate. It's going to be fantastic for 4K video editing when you're using some moderate motion graphics. I have a full review on this laptop you can check out on my channel. I've done head-to-head reviews with it, so you can really get a good mix. If this is a laptop you're considering, I'd recommend watching some more of those in-depth videos to make sure it's the right purchase for you. But if you are ready to make a purchase, as always, links are in the description below, and that always is a huge help to this channel. Next up is the MacBook Pro 13 M1. If you're a big Mac OS user, this was a big year for the MacBook Pro lineup and even the MacBook Air. What we're seeing is a laptop capable of 1080p for sure and some light 4K video editing depending on the program you are using. And what I found with this laptop is if you're trying to run full quality playback on this laptop with 4K, so that's when you're in the timeline, you press the spacebar and the timeline starts to scroll through. At full quality, you're going to drop about 5,000 frames. At half quality, you're going to drop about 375 frames. out of 16,177 frames in a project. It's not half bad for a laptop that's $1,200 and comes based on the Mac OS system. Mac historically has been much more expensive than that since these M1 chips have come out. Mac's price has slightly decreased due to them not having to put the Intel processors in their laptops anymore. That's a big win for us as creators and consumers. I have full in-depth video reviews on this laptop about why that's so good, about why it's so much cheaper this year, so to speak, and you can catch those videos on my channel, and I'll link those up for you guys. Now, some highlights on this is the MacBook Pro M1 is 8 cores, 8 threads. It has 8 GPU cores and 16 gigs of neural engine. So this has a lot of what we would consider kind of the AI aspects that we're seeing computers go towards, especially Intel. Intel is pushing less cores and threads, and what we're seeing them is push a lot of AI technology to try and boost the hardware that they already have, and that's what we're seeing Apple do here. And obviously, that's a very, very basic elementary level explanation on all that they've done, and if you want a more in-depth review, I have those on my channel. Now, we have 8 gigs of unified memory. That means that the memory is actually built into the chip system. And then we have 256 gig storage, 13.1-inch Retina display, and a color gamut of 100% sRGB and 78% Adobe RGB. I will move forward. I don't want to continue to ramble on about that laptop, but it is a great pick. Next up is the Gigabyte Aero 15. This is my favorite gaming laptop for video editing. The reason is it's highly powerful, highly color accurate, and it's got a great build quality. It's about a $1,400-ish price point depending on when you buy it, and for this type of power, that is a fantastic buy. It comes with 6 cores and 12 threads with the i7-10750H, the GeForce RTX 2060, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and 15.6-inch Full HD display at 100% sRGB and 100% Adobe RGB. This is a great laptop. It's got a great soft touch keyboard, good build quality, sturdy. I could ramble on about it, but there's not much difference with it this year going into 2021 from 2020. Still a great laptop, not many changes, but a classic for me as far as I'm concerned in the vote of being one of my favorite laptops. All right, next up we have the MacBook Pro 16. If you're a Mac OS user and you're somebody who wants to get a little bit more power, definitely making the upgrade from the MacBook Pro M1 to the Apple MacBook Pro 16 is going to be a good choice. You're going to be able to edit that 4K footage. You're going to be able to do a lot of motion graphics, and it's not going to lag down. It's not going to bog down at all. What you see, if you want to make some upgrades to this device, I'd recommend upgrading this. This would be the GPU, of course, to the 6 gig GPU. This is the 4 gig GPU. And I would keep the processor at the base model. That processor is plenty powerful for 4K. And even looking at doing some motion graphics, this is where I'd make the upgrade if I were you. I'd go to the 5500M. Get 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, 16-inch Full HD display at 100% sRGB and 100% Adobe RGB. So that is a laptop that if you're a Mac OS user wanting to get some good 4K editing with motion design in it, that's going to be my pick for you. All right, so now as promised, here are some of those benchmarks that we are going to be taking a look at. This is the 4K to 4K export out of Premiere Pro. Right here we have the Gigabyte Aero 15. As mentioned, the export time is about 6 minutes and 57 seconds. Nothing earth-shattering, but it is a good export time. Followed up next on the laptops we have in this lineup, the MacBook Pro M1 at 5 minutes and 51 seconds. Then coming down the line here at the MacBook Pro 16-inch, 5 minutes and 41 seconds. And then we move down here, HP Omen at 4:13. And then, of course, one of my favorite laptops didn't make the list this year, but still a phenomenal laptop. The reason it didn't make the list for me personally is it is a very warm laptop, and that's an understatement. It's usually sitting up about 89 to 90 degrees Celsius during the export. It is a piping hot laptop, but it does have a great export time at 3 minutes and 2 seconds. And of course, a honorable mention, I would say, would be the Acer Predator Helios 300 with its 2 minute and 55 second export time. Moving on to DaVinci Resolve, again, you're going to see the Ryzen processors handle the export out of DaVinci Resolve at a much more efficient pace, as well as the MacBook Pro M1 chip. So you see a lot of these down here. These are the so Ryzen, and then we have some Intel chips kind of lumped in here as well. I'll leave that on the screen for just another second here. But talking about specs, let's talk a little bit about specs here. Basically, what you're going to want to see in your laptop, if you're somebody wanting to do 4K video editing, is an H series processor from either Ryzen or Intel. Now, you don't want a U series processor because that is a mobile-based processor. It has a lower TDP. It's not going to be able to get as high at clock speeds. So really, if you're looking for something for video editing from Intel, I would recommend the i5 9300H or the 10300H, or the i7 10750H, or the i7 10875H. Those are three great Intel processors for video editing. From Ryzen, I'd recommend the Ryzen 5 4600H, the Ryzen 7 4800H, or the Ryzen 9 4900H or HS. So those are going to be the 4 to 6 processors that I'd really recommend. And then as far as GPUs are concerned, I'd recommend going no lower if you're doing 4K video editing with some motion graphics than the 1660 Ti. I've seen people use the 1650, still a solid GPU, but just doesn't have as much of a punch as something like the 1660 Ti or above. From there, you go to the RTX 2060, the RTX 2070, so on and so forth. Now, for me personally, I recommend a minimum of 16 gigs of RAM. Now, some of the laptops you see I've recommended here have 8 gigs. It's not because I'm going to, be staunch and say you cannot use a laptop with 8 gigs of RAM, because it's clearly not true. I've ran tests with laptops with 8 gigs of RAM for 4K video editing, for 1080p video editing, and it works very well. But for me personally, if I'm going to be multitasking, if I'm going to get a lot of value out of my computer, I want 16 gigs of RAM. And then finally, make sure you have a solid state drive within your computer. Something like a 512 NVMe SSD or a 1 terabyte SSD, whatever it might be. I always am a huge fan of SSD. Hard disk drives, they're great for long-term, like maybe storage drives that you back up stuff on, but they're not as fast, so it could actually be a bottleneck within your computer. So looking for SSD is very important. All right, and now one more thing I want to mention is I've got 2 bonus picks here. If you made it to the end, congrats, you get the 2 bonus picks that I did not able to get in my top picks, my top 5, but I still wanted to include them. And the first one is the MSI GF65. This laptop comes in at around $935, so it's a good kind of in between the Acer Swift 3 and my second pick, the HP Omen. It's a great laptop with the i7 10750H or the i7 9750H, a 1660 Ti, 8 gigs of RAM that I would recommend upgrading to 16, 512 gig SSD, 15.6 inch full HD screen. Though, unfortunately, as we see within these more budget-friendly laptops, the color gamut range is rather poor. Though you can purchase a external monitor like the Concept D CM3. If I'm not mistaken, I'll include that link in the description below. And that's a great color accurate monitor for around $300, and it gives you more space for your workflow, which is always a big bonus. All right, next up on the bonus, this is the last one we have here, is the Asus ROG Strix G15 240Hz version. Now, the reason I am so emphatic about the 240Hz version of the screen is if you get the 144Hz version, you will not get the higher color accuracy of 98% sRGB. It will be a lower color accurate screen, and that's why I always recommend people, okay, take my advice. Obviously, I have experience and I can lead you in the right direction. But when you go to make the purchase, make sure you know what you're purchasing, because a screen hertz difference, so 144 hertz versus 240 hertz, could mean the difference in color accuracy or no color accuracy. And oftentimes that information is a little bit buried in the details. You're not going to see that right off the bat. And so if I make a suggestion for this Asus ROG Strix G15 and I say buy the 240, but you buy the 144, you will not be getting that color accuracy. So always make sure you do that extra due diligence to make sure you're buying the right laptop. All right, so this laptop is a great buy with i7 10750H, the RTX 2070, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and a 15.6 inch full HD display. That's one of my favorite picks. Like I said, it didn't make the top pick, but I had to mention it. I really dig that laptop. Keep an eye on the channel for more videos like this. The best of 2021 lineups are all coming your way. These are my favorite videos to do. I really get to just kind of have a conversation, be casual, and enjoy my time with you guys. I'm Benji Kaiser. If you want more videos like this, click or tap the screen over here. And don't forget about the links in the description below. If you're ready to make a purchase, I would be so honored if you would purchase through my channel to support the ongoing work that we have here for creative professionals. Keep editing, keep designing, keep creating. I'm Benji Kaiser, and I'll see you here in the next video.